evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. We're almost done with the year 2025. Welcome to Direct Line Live. Our special guest tonight is Jerris Jackson from the Media Research Center, the media watchdogs who keep big media honest or do their best to expose their lies. Welcome to the show, Jerris. And our hosts tonight are Mark Unkofer and Jackie Saxton. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Dwight. And Jerris, thank you for joining us. So to start out, can you tell us a little bit about MRC, what it is, and what you guys do?
Yeah, so the Media Research Center is America's media watchdog. We've been around for nearly 40 years now. And the main thing that we do, or kind of what started and put us on the map, was highlighting the media's bias and what they choose to cover. Now, any conservative in America knows, excuse me, exactly what I'm talking about. If you turn on any news network, the stories that they report, it's in an entirely different world. It's in an entirely different scenario of what's going on. America's cities are burning, and every news outlet in this country tells you that it's peaceful and everything's fine and there's nothing to look at here. People that simply support freedom of speech and freedom of expression, you're told that those are hateful people, that those are racist people. The entire world is upside down to these people that are in the media. And at the Media Research Center, exposing that, that's our credo. So if you've ever seen on any of the news networks, the comparison, NBC, ABC, CBS, they spent this much time talking about a certain topic versus this much time. Typically what it is it's a story that they've contorted to make Republicans look bad. They will spend the lion's share of the broadcast on that, and a story that doesn't paint the left or a Democrat politician in the best light. They spend little to no time on that. Highlighting that data, doing the back end research of that, that's what has made MRC famous. We completely corner the market on this. So that's one aspect that we've done. And that was most of what we did for the first 38 or so years. We've realized recently through our Free Speech America division that there's a new war on information, and it's not on your Today Show. It's not on your NBC Nightly News, particularly because no one watches those anymore. But it's on your phone. It's on the web. It's with these chat algorithms that are basically people are farming out all of their brain capacity to these chat bots. People are farming out where they get all their information from Google and all the search engines. And all of these people, if you are a conservative, if you hold to any type of traditional values, if you are a believer in Christ, they hate you. They hate what you believe, and they want to systematically take over your country. And you can see that in the search results that they give. If you go to mrcfreespeechamerica.com, you can see litany of research that we've done. You name the topic, the big chat bots, whether that be OpenAI, DeepSeek, or it be Google itself, they will slant the results of just anything that you Google and search you wanted information about. They will slant the results in a way that points you towards a way that glorifies the left and demonizes the right. So those are the two biggest things that we work on, exposing the tech side while still holding the terrestrial media side to account. I guess, as I would think that they're in their final years, hopefully that would be for the good of the country. But holding the terrestrial media side accountable, as well as the new online AI side as well.
So help me out. You have a number of different products. How can average people access some of this information?
Yeah, so if you want our top shelf analysis of just how biased the news is, and again, we have a smorgasbord of whatever it is you like. We actually have someone in the office. They're dedicated every single day. They watch The View. Now, part of their contract is we also give them free therapy, because no one would agree to do that job if we didn't give them free therapy. But there's someone who it's their job every day to watch The View. We're constantly watching CNN. We're constantly watching MSNBC. And it's funny, when I tell people that, they say, "You horrible people, you must be torturing people." These people actually love it. I mean, these are absolute patriots in this country who want to expose the bias that we see in our media. So they love it. We aren't torturing them. They're well fed. They get to go home sometimes. So they love their job. But you want to go to newsbusters.org. That is updated daily with the news about the news, as I like to say, how they are covering the story, how that is biased, whether that's bias in terms of the attention they're giving to one ideological perspective, how they are completely butchering the historical context of the story, or my personal favorite, how we can find one thing that they're running around with their hair on fire that the right has allegedly done. We have proof that the left has done, and they were completely silent about that. So that's newsbusters.org. Free Speech America, that is where you're going to find our information regarding the big tech platforms. So whether it's one of the chat bots, whether it's one of the search engines, that's where you're going to find our detailed research on that. And we will ask these chat bots certain questions, and you got to go to the website to see, but the answers that they give us, it's absolutely ridiculous. You would think the DNC themselves, kind of is true, but you would think the DNC themselves were putting these chat results to Americans. And if I could say for a second, what's really scary about that is if you look at the ratings over the years, of course it's a problem, and of course we're going to point it out, and we're the best at doing that. But you've got to think people really farm out all of their mental capacity now to these chatbots and to these AIs and to these Google search engines. People don't think anymore, and it's unfortunate, and I don't know how long a civilization can exist like this, but people farm out all of their thinking to these AI chatbots. People, whether it's a kid that has an assignment, whether it's an adult who has a question about something, they type it in on a search engine. They type it in on an AI chatbot. And the results that they get, 9.5 times out of 10, it will be against conservative Americans. It will be against Americans who hold to even the slightest traditional values. And in the same way that past generations, whether it was through the college system, whether it was through the terrestrial TV, were radicalized through the left, they haven't stopped. They're radicalizing them through the search engines, they're radicalizing them through ChatGPT and other sources such as that. So those are the two main platforms, newsbusters.org and freespeechamerica.com, where you can see all that research.
So based on having seen everything that you've seen, in your opinion, is there a such thing as a neutral or non-biased media organization left out there?
They're hard to come by, but I would say that they do exist, but they are not in the mainstream. And these outlets, we've had research on this on MRC, freespeechamerica.com, you can see, is the more that they call balls and strikes, if you will, the more that maybe they don't promote the conservative opinion, but they at the very least show you, hey, this is what the other half of the country, and I think that's a really important point we can't miss out. Conservatives are not this small, like 12% of the country. We're half of the country. And what we believe, how we think, how we operate, how we think our government and how our society ought to operate, it's completely silenced to the average person if they're using the biggest search engines, if they're using the biggest chatbots. So the more down the line an outlet is, the more that they maybe show conservatives and they show us in a light that's not where all these racist fascists that they like to make us out to be. They're marginalized. And if you search on Google, for instance, trying to find a more down the line outlet, they're hard to come by. You will not find them. You will have to dig very deep for them. And in fact, and this is on Free Speech America's website, you will find leftist outlets on Google. Because, if you Google something, you scroll down, page 1, page 2, page 3. You will find larger conservative outlets on pages like 4 and 5, and smaller liberal outlets on pages 1 and 2. If you just take a simple look at some of the research we've done, it's undeniable how determinative they've been and how biased they are in trying to elevate even these lesser liberal platforms over these more popular conservative ones.
I was struck by looking at some of the materials that one of the ways that the bias manifests itself is which third parties get more prominent play. So obviously there's been a lot of publicity lately about sort of the bias that has infected Wikipedia, who controls where the edits get made in particular controversial or active studies. But some of the other one is, for example, the Southern Poverty Leadership Conference, I think it is, which is a group that, quote, identifies radical or radical groups, and frankly has been very biased in what that have. It does seem that that's one of the challenges we have as to who these third-party validators are. Can you kind of extend on that? Is there a way of doing a better job of picking out which sources that some of these tech platforms should be following?
Yeah, so that's a great point you bring up. Leftists by nature are such cocky and pompous individuals. They believe that they are the only source of truth. So the Southern Poverty Law Center, far left organization, has never had a single nice thing to say about anyone that holds even the slightest conservative, pro-America values. The left relies on them, and the left implores America that this is the only source that you could go to see who's a biased individual. And shocker, every person that I guess you could say is to the right of LBJ, they're going to tell you is a Nazi, a fascist, a racist, a sexist, somebody that should be avoided. All their famous S's that they like to use on conservative Americans. So any individual, and we actually have a piece that was published not that long ago. If you go to freespeechamerica.com, you can see it, that all of the resources that the chatbots, that Google gets, that they pull from to tell you, hey, Pete Hegseth, he's a drunkard, he's an abuser, he's a this, he's a that. Donald Trump, he's a this, he's a that. Categorically false accusations. We know that. Smart, normal people know that. But all the information that they pull, it's from leftist rags like the Southern Poverty Law Center. So you ask, how would we fix this? Whether it's Google manipulating their searches to make sure that anything that is, I mean, let's forget right wing, down the middle. I think that's an important distinction to make. They aren't just attacking what's right wing, they're attacking what's down the middle. If it is not dyed in the wool blue for their side, they will silence it. So Google manipulating their searches, and you have to search to page 5 or 6 just to find an article that's down the middle about a Trump administration official. I'll be honest with you guys. I know that because I work here and we do the research, but your average person, the last time someone was on page 6 or 7 of Google, they probably can't remember the last time they were on page 6 or 7 or Google. Most people, they go to page 1. And even now, Google, and I would invite your audience, Google any type of political topic or any type of political question. You could ask Google, are the No Kings protests, did they have any violent protesters that were encouraging the killing of the president? Did they have any type of violent protesters that were encouraging violent actions against conservatives, celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Now, we all know the answer is yes. These people were openly calling for the death of ICE officers, openly calling for the death of the president of the United States, openly celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We all know this to be true. But if you were to go on these chatbots, if you were to go on these search engines, all they would pull up is results from the big networks, your MSNBCs, your CNNs, your Atlantics, and what have you. And it's all puff pieces. It's all puff pieces about how massive it was, how it was the country coming together against what they alleged to be a fascist dictator. Comical, if you really think about it. But they pull all these sources from left-wing outlets. They feed that to Americans, and what they get is an extremely warped, dangerous view and an outright lie of the situation. So you ask, how would a problem like this be fixed? Google not manipulating the searches, number one, and the chatbots having a diversity. I'm going to use their favorite word, so maybe we can like win them over by using their favorite word. Using a diversity of sources. I mean, Google something on ChatGPT or OpenAI that's political, and look at all the sources. Tell me how many of them are right-leaning. Forget right-leaning, just down the center. How many of them are that? You won't find that. You will not find the Daily Caller. You will not find the Daily Wire. These are not outlets that you're going to find. You're not going to find us. I mean, we're America's top media watchdog, and you will not find us if you ask them a question about, is CNN biased? You won't find any of our nearly 40 years of research. So a diversity of sources. We're by no means arguing that it should just be conservative, that it should just be us, Breitbart, and other right-wing outlets. But let the American people, when they search up something, give them all the information and let them choose from that instead of trying to literally, force feed them a left-wing narrative.
So in the absence or the absence of trust with the mainstream media, which we know is at an all-time low, the trust in mainstream media, we've seen particularly elevated by the Trump administration the rise of what they're calling new media, right? People who they don't watch the news. They go to Twitter, they go to TikTok, they go to Instagram, they go to people's Substacks, and those are the people who are starting to have more influence on people, where they get their news, where they get their opinions. So has that factored into what you guys are doing? Are you starting to look into tracking the biases of new media? Are they more biased? Are they less biased? Are they actually better overall? What's your take on that?
No, these new media outlets, like you said, whether it's Substacks, people's podcasts, these are outlets that call balls and strikes. They call things right down the middle. And one of our biggest complaints, I mean, we have a laundry list of them here at the MRC for these bias outlets. But one of our laundry lists of complaints is they're not serving the American people well. Breaking news, if you get all your news from CNN or MSNBC, or even the old, the three terrestrial stations, NBC, CBS, or ABC, you're getting a dumbed down version of the world. I mean, it's not just a matter of, you don't like them because they are liars, and you don't like them because they present a left-wing opinion. Americans are not served by having these bias outlets masquerading as news when they're really just cheerleaders for the DNC. So this new media, if you will say, that you were describing, it is not at all, some right-wing echo chamber. What it is people not beholden to corporate media, not beholden to an old structure in which we're basically asking Americans to have the same news ecosystem that they did when Walter Cronkite was on every night at 6, as ridiculous as that sounds. These new outlets, they are not biased. They are in search of the truth. And if you truly look at what an average evening newscast gets compared to some of these major podcasts, podcasts are where people, particularly the younger people, are flocking to. These old networks, CBS Evening News, NBC Nightly News, they're dying off, okay? It's all the old people that go to the No Kings protests, and then they go home and watch the news story about themselves. This isn't where younger people are going to get the news. These are not outlets or broadcasts that are going to exist in their current form. I was about to say in the coming decades, but probably within the coming years, they are not going to exist in the same form that they do unless they choose to adapt and show all the viewpoints of Americans. Then maybe people will flock to them. But NBC, ABC, and CBS presenting fair news has been a wish of the Americans on the right long before I was born. So I'm not holding my breath on that one.
Let me not push back, but let me kind of elaborate on that a little bit. So when MRC was founded, 87, going back, you were just at the tail end where the three networks, and they followed what the New York Times said, but they were the New York media elite was sort of the gatekeepers, if you will, for what were the important stories. So today it seems like the gatekeepers have changed, and there's kind of in the algorithm of the social media that we use to get our news, a bias towards sort of confirmation of stories that confirm what people already believe in, and those are the ones you're going to listen to, and the technology picks up on that, and in some respects has led to this sort of fragmentation, if you will, of various media outlets. That's kind of hard to guard against, but isn't that one of the challenges we have, which is, so yes, there's a lot of new media out there, but some of the new media is driven by the drive for clicks, and the drive for clicks and reviews may well encourage people to be a little bit more provocative, or also to cater to particular biases. I think we see that a little bit in some of the conspiracy theories, because those tend to be stories that people like that. Is there a way of guarding against that, and what would you recommend for that?
So I think the best way to guard against what you're saying is a free market approach. A lot of times the conspiracy theorists in our country, and people always talk about on the right, not only are they on the left, but I would say there are more of them on the left, and the ones on the left they want you to take them seriously. The right will tell you who our conspiracy theorists are and to take what they say with a grain of salt. The leftists, right, they'll put them up on primetime cable and want you to think that they're legitimate people, as funny as that is. I think a free market approach to what you're saying, completely wackadoos that are just out there saying whatever it is they want to say and have no reverence for the truth, they'll be hollowed out. And people that are actually looking for true substantive reporting, they will rise. But I think right now, and we have been very supportive of the work at FCC of Chairman Brendan Carr, this is going back to the terrestrial stations, of trying to clean up these stations. Again, let's be clear about what they are here. They do not operate, they being NBC, CBS, and ABC, they don't operate under a free market system. They get to use our public airwaves to produce the trash that they masquerade as news. There's nothing limited government about that, about letting a liberal news outlet use public airwaves that you and I and your viewers pay for. They use that to push their left-wing propaganda. So that's why, in that instance, we've been very supportive of people like Brendan Carr, saying if you're going to use our public airways that are paid for by all American taxpayers, you need to show the views and opinions of all American taxpayers. In regards to other outlets that operate outside of that realm, like I said, I think it's a free market issue. I don't think that, and this goes with the speech that we're having here, this goes with official outlets, more speech, more outlets, that's a good thing. And I think that we need more of that. I think our problem now is we do have, and they are dying rather quickly, praise the good Lord for that, but we have gatekeepers on information. These people that have been around for decades and they are entrenched in leftist bias. And I think that that's part of the problem. And I think bringing on more outlets, CNN's viewership being in the toilet, I mean, they literally exist only because of the airports we have in this country. It's the only reason why CNN is still a thing. The reason their ratings are down, the reason that NBC, they chopped off, or NBC, excuse me, they chopped off MSNBC as quickly as they could because it's a financial dud. The reason that these networks are down is because there are options out there for people, a plethora of options that tell the news fairly down the middle. And I really think when you get out and you talk to the American people, that's really what they're looking for. Everyone has their biases. I think things should be this way. I think things should be this way. But when the information is presented, give it to us straight. We all know we're going to filter it through our own bias and we're going to make our own conclusions. But don't make our own conclusions for us, I think is what the vast majority of Americans are asking.
So we've started to see some of those big three terrestrial stations try to course correct at least a little bit, right? So you have Barry Weiss being brought on at CBS. You have, a lot of people don't know this, I just watch a lot of Gutfeld at night, late night. But one of his comedians who he typically had on just got hired on at SNL as a writer. So there are some places that are trying to course correct. Do you think that they're going to be successful, or are those people just going to get like booed away, like when they tried to hire Ronna McDaniel and she made it, I think, what, like 12 hours?
Yes, because of Chuck Todd, who now has a podcast that I think is watched by tens of people. That's a joke. He has a fair amount of people. I think time will tell. I will tell you that. CBS has been the best at this. They've been the most forward about at least giving the appearance of trying to make some of these changes. But I think it's going to come from, the fruit will be in the research that we here at the Media Research Center does. I printed this out because I just wanted to be sure. The No Kings protest that happened on Saturday, CBS, NBC, PBS, and NPR, they all led with coverage of the No Kings protests. Those networks, they spent a combined 17 minutes and 51 seconds of their broadcast combined talking about that. For reference, the annual March for Life rally that takes place in DC, those same networks, they spent a total of 50 seconds covering a pro-life rally. So I'm waiting to see. No one more than conservative Americans wants to see statistics like I just mentioned not exist. No one more than us wants that. But I'm certainly not holding my breath for it. And I won't be surprised if I'm disappointed about it. And it also just comes back to they're not doing journalism. They're running cover for the left. It took, but before I did this and we were researching it throughout the week when we first got in, it was hard to find a news outlet that was not objectively right-wing that pointed out, I mean, like the death cult that these rallies were on Saturday. People openly calling for the death of the president like it's normal, openly calling for the murder of Trump administration officials, celebrating the murder in public of Charlie Kirk. those weren't isolated incidents. You could find those at any major No Kings protest that took place throughout various large and medium-sized cities in this country. It wasn't hard to find. And this is why, to be frank with you, I don't have much sympathy. I have a computer and an internet connection, and it took me all 20 minutes to find this information. And you're telling me NBC and CBS were told these are the gods of information, that if they don't say it's true, it is not true. They couldn't figure this information out. They couldn't write a story. They can write their story about how it was massive and it was bipartisan and you had every member of the rainbow in the alphabet there. Good for them. But you also couldn't have written a story about this trend that, trust me, did not start with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that the left is obsessed with death. And they have become so comfortable with the idea of killing you and the idea of killing me. And they have not just become comfortable with that idea, that is an idea that they have acted on. Far deeper than just things that they post on Blue Sky, far deeper than just rally signs. They have actually put this into action. And the biggest media outlets in this country, the gods of information, the people that we are supposed to blindly trust, that's what they would like us to do anyway, they don't report on it at all. And I think the other big story, if I could just have 2 seconds to mention, is what they don't talk about. I'm sure you guys know about this developing story. Graham Planter, he's the fella in Maine that the Democrats are trying to put up to go against Susan Collins. The Democrats have done such a bad job, they're going to make me defend Susan Collins. That's saying a lot. But this guy has a Nazi tattoo. It comes out through these Reddit posts that he has a Nazi tattoo, and the media, they're largely silent on it. Bernie Sanders comes out and says, I still endorse him. I still support the man. Again, Nazi paraphernalia tattooed on his body. I'm sure we all remember how apoplectic every leftist was with the, now in their eyes, infamous Trump Madison Square Garden rally, in which they tried to make it seem like it was Hitler 2.0 at Madison Square Garden. Now, of course it wasn't. You don't need the largest semblance of brain cells to know that it wasn't, but that's what they pushed. I mean, that was almost the go home push leading into the election. Look at these evil Nazis. You can't put them into office. That was their go home message. They ranted about that for weeks. None of it was true. NBC, ABC, CBS, they all ran with it. They all acted like it was the gospel. But this actual story, an actual candidate right now with a D next to his name has Nazi tattoos, and they say little to nothing about it. I think he said, I read a story, he got the tattoo, if I'm
covered up.
remembering correct. Well, he got it covered up, but he said when he first got it, he got it in 2007 or something like that. Now, I'm quite young, but, and you guys can chime in here, I think the Nazis still had a pretty bad rap in 2007. I don't think that's a carve out. I think we were well aware of the evil of Nazism in 2007, and that was one of his excuses, that he got it in 2007. He also says that he got it with members that he was serving with in the war. So he's a follower. That's a great person that you want to be a senator. But this is a major story. Could you imagine if a Republican? I mean, they manifest a month worth of news stories off a fantasy that Republicans were conjuring up, past Nazi sentiments at Madison Square Garden. This actually happened. He actually has a Nazi tattoo. He then covered it up. This should be a massive story, and if he had an R next to his name, we all know it would be a massive story, but it's not, and that's unfortunate.
You put your finger on one of the sources of bias, which is the story itself is sort of the secondary. It's the choice of what is the story that gets covered. It's frequently a major source of bias. And you get told, well, that's factual, that's so interesting, but it comes after this decision to screen out news that's not exactly what they want to cover and focus on what they do. And that's a kind of a hard thing to address, but you guys do a great job of highlighting here's the comparison with a similar issue that took place at another time, and look at the difference. Look at the time that was devoted on the networks. Look at the amount of ink or column inches that are reflected. You guys do a great job of calling that information out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've cornered the market on being America. There's other left wing outlets that try to do what we do. They fail miserably 7 days a week, but they try to do what we do. And basically, their point is, no, those people that are over there lying, their lies aren't lies. So it's just lies on top of lies with the left. But we corner the market on this. We're the only ones that bring this truth to the American people. It is desperately needed. And yeah, it's every single day you see an instance of something that, and I'm not saying this as a conservative American, I'm saying this as someone who wants to see the full side of the story. There is more to the story here, and it's not being told. And you see it every single day in every single type of story, whether it was a No Kings protest. We're not saying don't talk about that, but also talk about the violence that was cheered on at these events. A man in Chicago literally saying we need to shoot ICE agents. He was, by the way, I saw the video. I don't know if you did. He was surrounded by thousands of leftists. Not one of them publicly rebuked him for what he was saying. He just said we should shoot ICE agents. And not one liberal-minded person, the liberal mind is a warped thing, not one liberal person around him even thought to say, I mean, you just said that we should shoot people. We hate Trump, but that we should go around shooting federal officers is kind of a grotesque position. Not one of the 1,000 liberals that were in earshot said anything about that. And we talked about the main candidate. And there's 1,000 examples. I don't know if you guys saw this past weekend. Virginia has a pretty big gubernatorial race coming up. Mm-hmm. And the Republican candidate, Winsome Earl Sears, she went to a JMU football game. And I don't know if you guys know this story, but she was heckled, told to go back to Haiti. And I'm sure if the news networks did talk about this, they would tell you that it was probably some Trump hat wearing, Confederate flag waving person. But no, it wasn't. It was actually a white Nova suburban liberal, surprise, surprise, that was yelling at a black candidate that they need to go back to Haiti. And the funniest part of it all is she's actually from Jamaica. So not only is he racist and bigoted, but also just a little challenged there with the maps. Again, that story that I just said, if you walk on the street, most Americans do not know about that. In fact,
he did get fired, though. I saw that.
He did. Yes, he did. Praise the Lord for that. But your average Americans, if you walk down the street and they just turn on the cable news, basic cable or the premium cable channels, if they get their news in the morning, the aggregates like Apple or anything like that, they wouldn't know that story happened. Now, they know that the White House is having renovations because that's a really, really big deal, I guess. Not really. But they know the White House is having renovations. That they know. But how much they know about the Democrat gubernatorial candidate in Virginia standing by an AG nominee on her Democrat ticket that wants to murder his Republican opponent and his children, they may not know too much about that. Knowing that supporters of her, Abigail Spanberger, knowing that supporters of her are yelling at a Jamaican immigrant that she needs to go back to Haiti. They probably don't know that. It would be hard pressed to find them that know that, but at least they know that the White House is being remodeled, and they know that the shutdown is 100% Republicans' fault. That's also what the chat bots and the AI tell everyone. So yeah.
I don't know that message is getting through, though, because I think a lot of the polling has indicated that people are starting to blame the Democrats more than the Republicans for the shutdown.
Yeah, so I'm sure you guys can speak to this better. I'm only 26 years old. This is the best that I've seen the GOP handle a shutdown as of lately. And it's not even that they are trying to posture in an untruthful way. They're just saying the simple fact of the matter, which is we can debate, negotiate, whatever you want, but let's do it while the government's open. It's not apparently that's too high of a demand for Chuck Schumer and the far leftists that he's beholden to. But yes, I have seen that data. I've seen the polling on that. That is changing. We have spoken. If you go to freespeechamerica.com, we've done extensive research on this as well. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we take credit for that, and the American the media, the trust in media being at an all-time low. When the MRC started, it was very universal to trust America. You trusted the 30-minute nighttime broadcast. You trusted what was in your morning paper. And every single year that we have been in operation, firing on all cylinders, doing what only we can do, it has absolutely tumbled trust in media. It's now at the lowest point ever. I think Congress is actually more liked than the media, which That's saying quite a lot, that more people like Congress more than they like you. And that is a direct result of the research that we've been doing for, like I said, nearly 40 years here at MRC.
So with a lot of these things that have come out recently, the man in the stadium, like you were talking about, just these hateful things. I've had a lot of people come up to me and be like, why aren't you, there was an article that came out recently about the young Republicans, and some of the stuff that was written in there that was pretty horrific was about me. And I had, my name wasn't mentioned, goodness, thank goodness, but I had people reach out to me and say, well, why don't you sue them for libel? And I said, well, first of all, they're private text messages, so you can't really do that. But second of all, as horrific as some of these things that they're saying are, they have the First Amendment right to say them. And I think you have a lot of people, even Republicans who are very, First Amendment freedom of speech, like we champion that, who struggle with where's the line.
Yeah.
And how do you see that?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we should say with with that situation, I think it's funny when people do draw the comparisons, because when the text messages came out, I can't find one Republican that stood by them. Everyone immediately called for them, that they needed to be denounced, that they needed to be removed, and I think the group itself has even been disbanded. It's not how the left handles it. When people come out and they have Nazi tattoos, the most far left senator, he stands by them. When Abigail Spanberger, the AG running on the Democrat ticket, wants to murder Republicans' children, again, murder Republicans' children. I really hope we don't become tone deaf to just how demonic that is. She stands by him, refuses to rescind her denouncement of it. So when people rear their ugly head, like we've seen with those Republican text messages, Republicans act as you would expect decent people to act. We denounce them, and we say that whatever the recourse is that's appropriate should be done. Now, like you said, they are private text messages. This is not yelling at someone out in a stadium. These kids were not running to be the Attorney General of New York. These were private phone conversations. And I think the line should always be drawn about inciting violence. We've talked about it here multiple times. You could go through any city in this country this past Saturday during the No Kings protest, and you saw open calls for violence. Open calls for violence, by the way, against a president that was almost assassinated. Had it not been for the grace of God, he would have been assassinated. So openly calling for the violence, the murder of individuals, elected officials that you don't like, that's far different than text messages that you see. Now, by the way, both of them repugnant. No one is standing by any one of them. But we do have the left in this country openly calling for violence against those that we don't like. And we have right-wing people that we discover a text message that they say things that they shouldn't say. And we deal with our people accordingly. And when people have repugnant behavior on our side, they're dealt with accordingly. And on the left, they either ignore it or they elevate the people. And I think that says a lot about the difference between the right and the left in this country.
I think that's a great point. Let me just go in a little bit more positive note, a little uplifting note. Yeah. Talk a little bit about how you've talked about Newsbusters, you talked about MRC. How can people get more information? How can they sign up? And then I'm going to ask you about the cruises. But let's first of all talk about how they can kind of get information that you guys put out in their inbox.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can sign up to get emails. We have a newsletter that we send, and our newsbusters.org, guys, that operates just like I was about to say that operates just like a CNN, but nobody would go there. So what I mean by that is it is a news site. It is not something that we post, a couple times a week, every single day. We are giving you the news about the news. We are giving you the news about how the news was reported. So in the same way that you would go on your preferred news site to see what the news of the day is, we do those exact same type of updates. So we are a website that if you want to know not just the news of the day, but how the news of the day is being reported, newsbusters.org, we have a newsletter that you can sign up for. We'll get sent to your inbox every day. Same thing for MRC, Free Speech America. If you go on that website, you will get all of our latest reports. Again, if you are interested in the tech space at all, search engines, AI, news algorithms, we have all that information there. So those are the two websites, newsbusters.org and mrcfreespeechamerica.com. You will find all of our research there, updated daily. And it's fantastic content. What I love about it is it's content that no one else is doing. You can go, there are a lot of conservative outlets, right-leaning outlets out there, and we love that, and we need that, and we need balls and strikes. We need people on both sides. But what we do is truly unique. You cannot find it anywhere else. You cannot find the quality of it. That you definitely cannot find the quality of it anywhere else. So that's why I am a big fan, and I'm very proud of the work that we do here.
So I was going to leave to Jackie. Jackie, you want to ask about the cruises?
I do, yeah. So I'm a huge cruise fan. You'll find me on a lot of cruises.
Heard.
But I heard that you guys do cruises. So if I can combine cruising with my political hobby, how would I do that?
So we just had, it wrapped up a few weeks ago, a cruise, and it was an absolute dynamite of a thing. Now, I'm hearing this through the grapevine because I was not invited, but I'm not holding that against my employer. I've only been here since April, so I'm not holding that against them. But some of the biggest names in the conservative movement were on the cruise. It is a labor of love for the people around here. It is not something that is just thrown together in a week. We carefully go through the people in the conservative movement that people want to hear from. It's not, so-and-so is conservative. Well, that's great. But, do they actually bring new ideas to the table? How are they actually working in the movement? A lot of us speak on the movement, but how are they actually pushing the ball forward on the issues that we care about? Those are the type of people that we invite on our cruise. Those are the type of people that you can have a drink with, you can have dinner with on our cruises. So our cruise for this year just wrapped up. So you're out of luck there, but you definitely want to stay posted on the websites that I just mentioned to you, and information about our next cruise. When that comes out, you definitely want to be on top of that.
So who was on this most recent cruise?
This most recent cruise, we had Alan West, we had Seth Dillon from Babylon B.
Love him.
A very good friend of the organization. Some of them are slipping my mind right now. Those are the two that I remember right off the top of my head. And Seth Dillon from Babylon B, I mean, his stuff is fantastic. We were talking earlier about someone who just kind of calls balls and strikes and tells the jokes without any reservations for anyone's feelings. I kind of like that. So that's why I love the Babylon B. And we joke around here that sometimes they're more truthful than the actual news outlets themselves, which is true. I mean, it's sad that that's the state of American public media. But there's more truth to be found in those joke articles than what you would find on CBS News sometimes, unfortunately.
There have been too many Babylon B articles I've read the headline where I'm like, I thought it was real until I saw it was a Babylon B article.
Yeah, it's one of those things where years and years ago, their headlines were so outrageous. It was so out of step with our reality that you instantly recognized it as being a goof story. But the lines have become so blurred recently that you have to do a double take.
We're living in a simulation.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up towards the end of the show. And Jackie, I know the YRs are really busy. So this is the point where we kind of promote things that are coming up. Tell me what you guys have coming up with the YRs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in terms of grassroots, we've been out there helping out our local candidates, both in Annapolis and Frederick City. We have some really great candidates in both spots that I definitely think that with the amount of doors we've been knocking, we're going to flip those seats. I feel good about it. But on the more fun side, we have our Christmas gala coming up December 20th, Saturday, December 20th in Frederick, in Iamsville specifically. It's going to be beautiful. It's black tie optional. We like to get dressed up and fancy, but we're also gonna have a bonfire and cigars and a hot chocolate bar. It's gonna be a really good time. Early bird tickets end on November 14th. So definitely check us out on social media. You'll be able to go in and buy those tickets, and you're not gonna want to miss it. It's gonna be a good time. What about you, Jordan? Mark, what's going on with the party?
I was going to say I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that we've got Pizza and Politics coming up on the first Thursday of the month. It starts at 6:30 at Mama Lucia. Information is on the website. We also have our Capitol lunch at the Capitol Hill Club coming up on that first Friday in November. And that's kind of a great event that we do both the Montgomery County Republican Club, but we also do it with the Chevy Chase women. And we get people who are working on the Hill, and we've had a couple of YRs who regularly come now. So we really appreciate that, Jackie. So we've got that coming on. I won't go too far into the future, but I know Dwight would probably be having us promote the Christmas party, the specific date of which I don't remember. I almost expect to hear the disembodied voice of
December
Here it
7th.
comes.
Here
December
it comes.
7th, 2 to 4.
December 7th. There you go. Thank you. Sorry about that. I should have had that right in front of me. But Jackie will be doing a comprehensive calendar, won't you, of events coming
Yes,
up?
that is on our goal sheet for young Republicans. Is you can go to our website and have a Google Calendar of like everything going on in the state. One-stop shopping. You could filter it. It's gonna be awesome. I have plans.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Jerris. We really appreciate learning a lot more about how MRC works and kind of the ways in which people can participate.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. I had a great time. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Let's go down to Masoni, where Italian cuisine shines. Let's go.